Hey folks, Quill18 here and welcome to Let's Try Endless Space. This is a pre-release alpha build. Not all of the final features are in here. That includes not all of the factions, not all of the game balance, and also no multiplayer yet. But those are all features that are promised for the final game. Now this is a very promising 4X game by a company called Amplitude Studios, and one of the things I like most about this company is that they've actually created this sort of games together program, they call it, where you can register for the games together program and you can participate in the development of the game, in that you get a certain number of points and you can use these points to vote for certain features that you want included or changed and things like that. It's a very interactive development, and I think that A, I think that's going to do wonders for this game, and B, I think that's going to be what you're going to see more and more often going forward with these sort of indie developments. We're already seeing that with some games, and I think it's going to be more going forward, so I'm really excited about what they're doing. So Endless Space is a 4X game, and I think one of the things that stands out in it, it has, simply put, the most beautiful user interface I've seen possibly in any game ever, but especially in a 4X game. Just the way that things change and feel. I feel like the options here are a little light, but they'll probably come in with some more stuff later on. There's actually quite a few graphic options already, which is kind of nice. I'm going to starting a new game, and I just love the way the menus come in and out, and it's just a beautiful, clean design. Quite a few options for setting up the game. Now, it is called Endless Space, and one of the things they're trying to do is give you endless replayability with lots of different options for how the galaxy is set up. There are already quite a few things in here, as well as the difficulty settings, such as tuning what victory conditions are available. Right now, you cannot design your empire. You can choose different portraits, or rather, this is where you choose your faction, and then you can see what kind of traits that these get. Lots of mouse overs, lots of tooltips throughout, very handy. At some point, they are talking about, before the full game is out, having an empire designer, so you can tweak all these things and get the sort of free-form faction design that you're used to if you've played games like, say, Master of Orion 2, or Master of Orion 1, either way. So here we go, we've got a little bit of an empire set up. There are 5 factions. I believe there's supposed to be 8 at release, plus the ability to customize them, and of course the multiplayer. I'm actually going to go and just load a game here that I had set up, and we're going to talk about this. So I'm going to play a little bit of it, and then we're going to fast forward to some future saves that I've got set. So the graphics are very clean in-game. Not a whole lot going on. Now, one of the things to note, this is turn-based, not real-time, and it follows the sort of systems are linked by like jump gates or wormhole type things. So you go directly from one system to another. You don't fly in a sort of free-form fashion. And some games have done that. Some games have gone with the free-form flexibility. I'm actually fine with this. One of my favorite 4X games, of course, is Master of Orion 2. And in there, technically, you could sort of kind of fly in any direction, but only from one system to another. Here, you'll always have to follow the links. But it ends up being pretty similar. The turn-based thing works really well for this, I think. And again, in-game, the UI is just wonderful. There are a few niceties that I would like to see added in at some point, just quality of life stuff, but I think they're things that are obvious and are going to get put in. Just some little alerts when various things finish. They already have those things in-game, but I think I'd like to see a little bit more, especially with moving the ships around. So we've started with one star system called Vitus here. And if I click on it, this is the star system. These are the 4 planets. I think this is a lovely, wonderful little effect you've got here. This is our home planet, Vitus 1, the only one colonized. We can't colonize any of the other planets right now because we don't have the technology to colonize arid, tundra, or lava planets right now. We can only do Terran planets. If you click here, we can zoom into this planet by itself. It's worth noting there's not much to do on the planet screen in and of itself. You do get to choose an exploitation for the planet, which is food, industry, trade, which is in the form of dust. Dust is the currency. You know, I'm sure there's a parallel here to, say, spice if you're a Dune fan. And there's also science. Each one of these exploitations always improves that trait, but they each have a planet type that they're best on. For example, it looks like Evolved soil gives a second extra food per population if you're building it on Terran planets. This is a Terran planet, so I'm going to queue that up. Also, you can see there's a moon in the image here, and this is represented here by a moon. If you get a certain technology, then you can do a survey of the moon and unlock additional content, basically, on your planet. This planet also has an anomaly. It is mineral poor. This is because of my faction that I chose. This faction always starts with a negative anomaly on my planet, on your home planet. There are also positive anomalies, but these guys always start with a negative one. And if I pick up soil revivification, it will reduce the anomaly somewhat. So I can cycle between the planets, but there's not much to see on these. Now, it does tell you what technology you need to colonize these planets, and we'll look at that a little bit more when we get to the tech tree. Also, you can see here it says in-system colonization. If you are colonizing from inside the system, you just kind of build it directly, but to colonize other systems, you need to build colony ships, so it's a little bit more involved. So we're going to flip back to the galaxy screen. I'm going to take my scout. Actually, I've got 2 ships over here, and that's one thing I don't find super well differentiated here, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. You click on this, we've actually got 2 fleets here. We've got our Alpha fleet and our Beta fleet. And if we click on Alpha, you can see it's composed of a scout, so we can right click on a system to send him in that direction. He's going to go over there, and it's close enough that he completes it in just one move. Now, one of the things I don't like is there's not an indicator here to let you know if these ships have movement left, as far as I can tell. Also, there is no indicated hotkey to tell you if there's an ability to select an idle ship. It may exist, it may not, I don't know. There's no actual reference to it. So that is something that I feel definitely should be in the game. I'm used to hitting, like, say, W to do that, but WASD actually moves the map around in addition to the arrow keys on the keyboard, and I can just drag it around with my left mouse button as well. It's interesting, the tooltips here actually have, like, a little bit of drag. They follow a little bit behind. It's kind of a cute effect. So we've got a little bit of move left, so I'm going to go ahead and send my scout this way. Now my second fleet, my Beta fleet over here, is a colony ship, so I can send it out different places as well. Now, if I zoom in, so there is a beautiful galaxy map, just absolutely stunning and gorgeous if I zoom out. Obviously, usually you're going to want to zoom in at least close enough probably to see your system names, and if you zoom in a little bit more, then you get little indications telling you the population of the system, as well as how many planets are here. And these symbols represent blue dots are colonized planet, red dots are planets you cannot colonize, and white dots, if there were any here, would be planets that I can colonize. Again, right now, the only thing I can colonize are Terran planets, so I'm going to have to go and find one of those first. So I'm going to move out. You may be wondering why I'm not going to this planet here, and why there's sort of a wavy kind of path here. And if I try to right-click to this planet, my ship won't go there. This, I believe, is a wormhole. These are sort of like jump routes or travel routes. I'm not sure the term they use in the game, but these are the routes that your ship can follow, these white lines. These wavy ones are wormholes, and you have to unlock a technology to be able to travel this. Wasn't quite obvious to me at first. I think I was like, I don't know what's going on, and then at some point I researched the right technology, and it told me, hey, you can do this now. I said, oh, that's what it is. The systems are sort of grouped into what I think they call constellations, so I'm going to be wandering a constellation right now, and wormholes join different constellations. And from what I have seen so far, you seem to often get paired up with one opponent in a constellation. That may not be constant, I don't know. And then you sort of have this little localized area, and at some point you unlock the area, the ability to travel to more constellations and have more and more people to contend with. So, since there's only one place for my colony ship to go, I'm going to send it out as well. I'm going to do it this, and it'll queue up the entire path over this way. Before I end the turn, I'm going to go and queue up a research. That's something I'm not quite sure about. It will let me just finish a turn without queuing up a research. I don't know if the research points accumulate or not, and I hope it does. So here's the research screen. There are 3 zoom levels. It might be a little nicer if you could sort of smoothly do it, but at the same time, I see what it is. This level, you don't have the icons. Here you do. If you had icons out here, they'd just be blurry and useless. So here you do, and here you get even more detail. So I can mouse over a technology. For example, because of my faction, I started with N-wave fusion plants, and I can mouse over that. And it gives me 2 specific extra improvements. So the technology unlocks 2 specific, I think, developments or discoveries: heavy isotope refineries and Hyperion. It tells you the cost in a description. Here are the heavy isotope refineries. These are star system improvements. These are buildings I can basically build at a star system level, which actually I have to talk about a little bit more. The other thing it does is it unlocks a strategic resource called Hyperion. So if I go back to the galaxy map here and zoom in, you can see above Ani right over here, there are two symbols. And if I click on the system and look at the planets, this planet, the first one, has dust water, and it's grayed out right now. And over here on the right, the fourth planet has Eden incense. These are special resources that can be unlocked by searching certain technologies and then give you tremendous bonuses. For example, these Eden incenses give plus 20 approval on all planets and plus 2 science per population. Actually, sorry, this is on this planet. And additionally, a 4% bonus to invasions for every one of these I have in my entire empire. So that's an empire-wide bonus, I believe, whereas the others are planet-wide. And if you have a monopoly on the resource, if no one else in the universe has it, then you get an even bigger bonus. And you can trade these resources and get pretty involved in there. So Hyperion, or whatever it was, Hyperion, is another one of these resources, which I don't currently have anywhere on the map. But if I find it, then I'll be able to take advantage of it right away. The other thing I meant to talk about, and I hadn't actually quite finished, was there is some degree of planet development through these exploitations, but the majority of it is actually going to happen on a system level. This is when you develop technologies and unlock buildings, you build them on a system level, as opposed to a planet by planet level, which I think is actually fine. It treats a system more like a sort of a civilization or Master of Orion city/planet. So there ends up being a little bit less micromanagement because you don't have to manage every single planet individually. You're just operating on the system level, and I think that's perfectly fine, assuming the galaxies are big enough, and these galaxies are going to be pretty large, so that is totally fine. So the research, so we may as well queue one up, and now what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to look at these planets right over here. And so a tundra and an Arctic. Well, we should be able to unlock the colony for tundras, although it is a tiny planet. It's maybe not worthwhile, although it would unlock 2 tundras over here, and actually there's 2 Arctics as well, so that looks like a pretty good path to go. If I go and pick up Xenobotany, then that will unlock tundra, which I can also see here. So that'll take 5 turns. That seems like a worthwhile endeavor to pick up. Now there are 4 areas of research, and I can actually zoom in. No, do I mouse over these things to get a description? There we go. So at the bottom, you have the exploration and expansion technology tree. Over on the right, we have the applied sciences technology tree. Then we have galactic warfare to the north. And finally, diplomacy and trading to the west. So there are quite a lot of technologies, and they are linked in a way that you do kind of reinforce certain decisions. For example, if you want to get to compact fusion reactors, which you need to unlock Arctic planets, you can do it simply by having either one of the prerequisites. You don't need both. So in a way here, I'm almost making a choice to leave the arid colonization behind. Not exactly. I can always go back and backfill this, but that's an interesting decision to make. Do you do that? And these are going to be cheap technologies, maybe only take a turn, but that's still 1 turn that might delay you somewhere else. In practice, I think backfilling is going to be quite practical a lot of the time. For example, there's going to never be any way for me to pick up the sustainability to colonize deserts unless I pick this up. And this is probably a bad tree to show that on because I'm going to want to colonize in a lot of planets. But am I ever going to want lossless fusion pods, for example? Well, I don't know. It increases my speed, sure, but maybe there's something else that'll increase my speed later, and this is going to be kind of obsolete. I'm not sure. Am I ever really going to need to build non-baryonic colliders? I'm not sure. Again, there's going to be a lot of balance changes, and I haven't played the game that much yet. But so far, so good. Anyway, I guess I need to complete my first turn, so let's go and do that. I haven't looked at the other screens yet, but we'll talk about them momentarily. Now, here's going to bring one of my first complaints so far. The next turn has started. My ships have movement queued, and they have movement available. And if I hit end turn, then they will take this move. But then I will be on the 3rd turn, which what can happen, and this will be a bad example. Let me skip this turn and show you what it does. Now we're going to start another turn. Now, all right, this scout has enough movement to reach the planet this turn. If I hit end turn, he'll reach it, and then we're going to go on to turn 4. The problem is it won't give me a chance to act on this, whereas if I go and double check all these things and move them manually, like I'll move it here, okay, he's still not there, and then I'll move him here, and the scout will reach it, and then I'll have the ability to start making a decision right away. And if he had any move left, which he happens to not, I could right away direct him over here. Whereas if I just let the turn end, I would have wasted an extra, movement point or two. Or I wouldn't have been able to redirect things to make an informed decision based on what I've discovered over here, which seems kind of bad. So I'm hoping that changes, along with the ability to find idle ships. Yeah, I would like that very much. Speaking of ships, now you can find them pretty easy over here, all your fleets. You can see what their missions are, which is going to Lacerda and going to Atlas, I believe. I'm not sure why these are two slightly different symbols. Also, if there's any move left. So you can find them pretty quickly here. These screens are great, but I want to see a little bit of improvement on the main screen at some point. There are also ship designs, which of course is a big part of a lot of 4X games. So here we can look at our defenders, our colony ships, and our scout ships. And what we could do is go ahead and create a new design from scratch. Right now we only have 2 hulls. We have a transport hull, which is better for civilian stuff, because any civilian modules take up 40% less space. So basically you're going to be using the transport hull just to make civilian ships, and then the corvette hull to make your very lightest military ships, including scouts and defenders. And I believe the only difference between the scouts and defenders are that the defender has more weapons and the scout might have more scanners right here, long-range sensors. So I think that's it. There's also a really handy auto upgrade button. So let's say all we knew is like, listen, all right, we want to make a ship that, so we've got to look at the tonnage. We've got 100 tonnage. So we're going to drop half of it are going to be these guns, and then fill the rest. Okay, it's actually just going to fill it with guns. Probably because I didn't leave much else. Actually, let's blank it out and just hit auto upgrade and see what it does. See, it's going to add 7 modules of hard kinetics, which are my weapons. These are basically, kinetic weapons are basically just guns. We like fling some sort of bullet forward at the enemy, as opposed to lasers. And hull, there you go, we've got some armor. Or what we could do is, so it'll fill in the blanks for us. We can also just reset this. So what maybe we want to do is add this armor. This is actually extra hit points. The layered hulls are more deflection, so we'll put a little bit of that. And then a couple of these, and then say auto upgrade. And it'll just fill in the blanks for you, which is kind of cute and nice and very, very handy. And I think it'll make more of a difference once we've unlocked far more modules. There's quite a big tech tree. There's a lot of stuff to unlock here, so we can end up with something pretty varied. So that is the shipbuilding. Yes, confirm. You can also upgrade and modify the existing designs, and I believe the game may auto-update them as well once you unlock new technologies, but don't hold me to that, actually. Next screen over here is our diplomacy screen, which has this really cool sort of holographic effect that I'm sure I've seen in some movies. I guess we'll have to wait until we've actually met someone before we can show that off. And the last screen over here, we're going to wait for another turn before we talk about, because we need a little bit more money. See, again, these ships aren't moving right away at the beginning of the turn, which is fine, but I almost want some sort of button to like use up their automated movement or something. So we've discovered Lacerda. Again, we don't have any technology to explore there. And it looks like all routes point to this planet, so not much opportunity, or not many options to do anything but move things over here. There we go. Almost, I like being able to move the map around, but I kind of wish it had used something other than the left mouse button so that I could use the left mouse button to maybe box select the ships, because sometimes I find them a little hard to click on. I mean, you can certainly zoom in, make it much easier, but other than that. And the planets should be doing fine. We're still building. Yeah, right over here. Here's our various production tabs. Hangars, we're going to talk about building ships soon enough. You can also set an AI director to build things for you automatically by assigning it some sort of priority. So, oh, we still don't have quite enough money, so we're going to wait one more turn. All right. So now this is our dust up here. This is the primary currency. We have 29 of it. So now we can look at this screen, which is our hero screen or a leader screen. There are 3 of them available for hire right now. And I believe you only have 3 slots, or at least that's how you start. Maybe that expands over time. I haven't played far enough to see that, perhaps. So we have 3 heroes waiting to be hired, and they each come with 2 abilities or classes. So Ivan over here is both a commander, who's good at leading fleets, and a pilot, which makes him good at fighting in space and on the ground. Here, Uratha is a corporate hero, good for science, dust, luxury, and strategic resource production. And he's also a pilot. And here we have another corporate hero, and an adventurer who's going at spying, killing, sneaking, and stealing. I'm actually going to hire a gunner over here. They all cost 22 dust to hire. They all have 1 for an upkeep. I assume some of these are going to change over time. In fact, I believe as these level up, and that's what the 1 is, these are all level 1 heroes. As they level up, they become a little bit more expensive, but their bonuses get significantly more powerful as well. So I'm going to hire him and flip to my active heroes, and I'm going to assign him to a system. He's going to be the governor of the Vitus system. And at some point, we can inspect him. You can see all his effects that he's giving us right now. He does provide bonus damage on weapons and accuracy and defenses from his pilot, but he also gives us a huge 10% bonus to research and dust production. So we're going to keep him planet side for now, but he's obviously a fairly versatile hero. And here's something that we just see over here. Our scout ship, which has very large sensors, and you can see the sensor area here for the scout ship, is much larger than the one for the colony ship. What's actually spotted some unknown fleet. Again, I'm going to move this guy here so I can unlock this. Looks like the unknown fleet is coming from over there. So we've got a few options here. I'm going to... I guess it's too late to turn him around, actually, which is unfortunate. Once they get on this sort of jump path, they can't turn back. So I'm going to have to see about potentially engaging this one with my scout and seeing how that goes. In fact, with that in mind, I am going to... Oh, I've got to wait 6 turns before I can move him again. Shoot. I wish I kind of had a hero over here because I'd need an advantage in the potential upcoming fight. Now, this guy may not engage, but I'm a little bit concerned. All right, next turn. We're going to see what happens. All right, they did not engage. Now, we have the option of starting a fight, and they're leaving right away. Research complete. Xenobotany is done, and it's saying there's no research queued after this. So that's good. We're probably, I'm thinking we may want to pick up the compact fusion reactors so we can colonize Arctic planets, because we do have quite a few of those. If we look over here in Aina, we've actually unlocked 2 systems. So what I should probably do is turn the colony ship around and colonize over there. We've also got one in Lacerda, an Atlas, nothing in Andromeda. We've actually unlocked the second one in Vitus, which is an extra bonus of picking up the tundra stuff. So let's go ahead and queue up a colony there. We're still working on evolved soils on our capital, but we can queue up a in-system colonization. You can see it in the queue down below on both those screens. And then we're also going to queue up the heavy isotope refinery to give us a huge production boost in the system. So a big queue, but that's pretty standard for me. I tend to do a lot of that. And at this juncture, I'm going to skip ahead to the next save so that we can talk about things a little further. So, confirm. So in this particular game, I haven't done a whole lot. I believe I colonized... Yeah, it ended up reaching all the way over here with Bellatrix with my colony ship and colonized that. So I've got a system over here, and if I tab over here as my other system, you can see I'm blockaded here, which is because my neighbors are not being overly friendly. They're blockading me over here, which is preventing me from doing trading and also sharing my resources between my different systems. Not that I think I've got access to any at this time. But it lets us show off the diplomacy screen. So we've got a neighbor over here. So we are currently in a Cold War. That's the default status of different empires. You start in a Cold War and you have to talk if you want anything other than that. So let's, we can't declare peace. I don't think we've got either the relationship or the technologies to be able to negotiate something like that. So we actually have very few options at this time. That's too bad. I do like the deal approval bar, so as you add things on one side or another, you can see if it's going to be approved or not, so you can kind of tweak it, so you know right away like how to arrange a deal. A lot of games have that. Civ and Gal Civ, no, not Gal Civ, but Civilization does have the button that says, you know, what do you want for this? So you can offer something and click that, or request something and click that button, and the AI will kind of fill in the sides for you. And then some things like Galciv you can just click on their money and it'll autofill in the right amount of money for the deal acceptance, that sort of thing. So a visual indicator is good there, so you don't have to do trial and error. So apparently these guys do not want particular peace. So let's fast forward a little bit after I've built a few ships. And we'll show you what one of the fights look like. I haven't done a particularly good job of expanding this game. I just wanted to do some demos. So we still just have the one planet over there, or the one system. I believe we fully colonized Vitus. Not quite. Almost there. But at this point, I've built 3 defenders, and of course, to build a ship, these are your system improvements, but you can also flip whatever ships and queue up a bunch of ships. So I've built 3. I still have 1 in queue, but I'm going to go ahead with the 3 I have, and they're just in a hangar on my planet or in orbit around my planet. So I'm now going to click Create Fleet, which will give me a fleet in orbit, the red ships over here. I will also change my commanders and grab Ivan over here, who is both a commander and a pilot. Oh, he's injured, however. That's no good. So you know what I'm going to do? I will bring in Urotha, who is at least a pilot. So he was injured. He was piloting one of the scouts, and he was fighting some pirates and was injured in a combat. So I actually have to spend money to heal him up, but I just spent a bunch of money quick building my fleets. So I'm not going to be able to do that. Urotha, you are in luck. You are going to be leading this combat. And now our ships are in this system now. There's a possibility if I were to hit end turn, these guys might attack us on their turn, or they might just flee. And if we look here, they have 1 fleet, 9 of 9 movement. I don't think it describes the size. Or that's actually, I think that might be the sensor, the satellite dish. I think it's 1 of 7. That's their maximum fleet size, because we're at 3 of 5. So this should actually be pretty much of a cakewalk. So we're going to attack, and we're going to see what the combat is like. Now the combat is really interesting in that it's not tactical combat you control directly, but you do have ways of influencing it. It's also very, very cinematic. You can just automate it and have it deal, but let's see what manual mode is. You can see here the bar. We are very highly in favor of winning this because we are 3-to-1 advantage in terms of ship, and also in terms of strength because of our technology versus theirs. This should be really easy. So we're going to click manual mode. It's going to time out. This is going to be really nice for multiplayer. We get a little cutscene here, and here is the battle. And you can see the timer here. First we get a rival mode, and then there's going to be a long range engagement, medium range, and melee, and for each one of those we get to choose an action card. For the first one, I'm going to choose sabotage to give them an attack penalty, and just in case they hit me, my second phase I'm going to use engineering for nano repair bots, and my ships are loaded with kinetic weapons. Here's the first long range phase. Oh, I used a sabotage type card, and they used nano repair bots, which actually counters sabotage. Whole sort of rock, paper, scissor system. So their nano repair systems took place. My short circuit did not. Luckily, I still have more ships, so I'm trying to do damage to them, and I should be able to hit them. I still need to choose a melee range action, and kinetic weapons are best in melee range, so I'm going to use weapon overclock to give myself an extra 40% kinetic weapon damage. So now I'm going to use my engineering card, which counters their sabotage card. So my nano repair systems is an engineering type card, and it counters sabotage. They use short circuit, which is a sabotage card that counters other sabotage. Right, so we've actually just flipped. We took reverse actions. Now we're going to see, oh, we've already won. We destroyed their ship already. We didn't even need to get to the melee phase because we were so overwhelmingly more powerful than they are. But I love the combat. I think it looks beautiful. In many of these games, I like to be able to design my ships, and I like to see something concrete about my design. Like, I like to see the actual tactical battle, but I often don't want to deal with the nitty-gritty of just controlling it. So I tend to go into the battle, and unless I really need hand-holding, I hit the auto button and just let them fight out. But I want to see exactly what's happening. I don't want the AI to just roll some dice and say, oh, you won or you lost or something. So I really like their take on it. I think it's great. I also think it's going to be good for multiplayer. Got a little summary here about everything that's happened, and looks good. Enemy hero was injured. Our hero gained more XP. They lost 1 ship. We didn't lose any ship. That was pretty good overall. Anyway, that is it. This is my little preview of this game. I know it's nothing but a little teaser of the early game. Barely a touch on late game technology. We haven't even unlocked the ability to go through the wormhole. But I think this will give you a great taste of this game. I can't wait to see how the development goes. And you can bet I'm going to revisit this in the future when the full version comes out. Anyway, that is it. I will see you folks next time.